Hey beauts, welcome back to Pretty Scary, the channel that brings you budget-friendly, easy-to-follow tutorials that you can do at home. It's day 8 of 31 days of Halloween and we have this showstopper, the Iron Maiden from Resident Evil. Keep watching. I'm going to start by giving you a very quick rundown on how to do a bald cap. So first of all, wrap your hair. So you want to just smooth it and wrap it around your head, pinning as you go to get it as flat as possible. If you've got particularly thick hair, you can pin curl the crown also and wrap the rest. Hairspray it or gel it if you need a little bit of extra hold. Then pop your bald cap on over. For this one I want to cover my ears because the Iron Maiden doesn't appear to have ears. Normally you would make a slit so that your ears can show through. And just put some skin adhesive on. I'm using Telesis, I think it's pronounced, which is like basically a bit like Prozaid, which is what I normally use. But they had run out, so I had to buy this, but it's brilliant. It's just as good as Prozaid. And just put the glue on, allow it to dry so it goes clear and tacky, and then glue down your bald cap. My ear decided to poke out, so I just had to re-glue that little bit, which wasn't a problem. Just pull it away and apply a little bit more glue and just glue back down if the same happens to you. And yeah, prepare to look like a thumb, as I do. Very glam, especially when your ear's covered too. And then I just covered my eyebrows using the same skin adhesive and some powder, just to ensure that they don't get any latex or anything like that stuck in them. And then moving on to some liquid latex, I just use this just to really seal in the edges of the bald cap and kind of blend it into my skin. Although with this look it doesn't matter so much because you will be using a lot of texture and sticking a lot of things on. I use Polymorph Plastic to create the teeth for the Iron Maiden. So you just put the pellets into boiling water and then very carefully lift them out once they go clear and mould them into teeth shapes. And now it's time for application. So I just drew out the big Iron Maiden mouth and then filled that out with some black body paint. I'm just using the Diamond FX wax based one because it's a really deep solid black. Once that's filled in and it's all dry, it's time to start building up the edges of the mouth. So I'm just using the good old latex and cotton wool application technique. Now obviously this isn't a technique that is used in film and TV, which I've probably mentioned this before, but it is a quick, easy and accessible and not to mention very cheap way of doing character makeups at home. So that's why I use this a lot on this channel. So just smoothing and sculpting that cotton wool with plenty of latex on a spatula. It's far better to use a spatula than your fingers because if you use your fingers the latex tends to get a bit sticky and tacky and ball up and it just generally is a bit of a nuisance. So if you use a spatula then you can smooth the edges a lot more easily. Building it up also around the eyes, just make sure that you do not actually cover your eyes because you want to be able to see, and also be very careful when using latex around your eyes. Once that latex has dried, it's time to start painting. I'm just using a light grey by Snazaroo just to get the base tones of the Iron Maiden. So just putting that all over any exposed skin. And I'm just using a brush to paint it onto the prosthetic because then you can really get into all the nooks and crannies of the latex and cotton wool. Make sure you paint in any black where there's any skin showing underneath that latex and cotton. And then I went in with some more black body paint, but really watered down, and a sponge that I've pulled some holes in, and then just stippled that really watered down mixture all over. What you wanted to do is just create some texture and make him look a bit kind of gnarly and aged looking, because he's not all perfect and clean looking. When you're doing any kind of look like this, texture and dark colours are your best friend because they will hide a multitude of sins. I decided to go a little bit darker around the edges of the head and also under the chin and around the edges of the prosthetic, which you'll see me doing now. This is just to create a little bit of dimension and a bit of texture to the look. What is wrong with me? I can't talk today. Anyway, I then went in with Black Smoke by Laura Mercier and just shaded in some collarbones. The Iron Maiden's kind of a bit kind of muscular and manly looking, so I just wanted to shade in that muscular, manly looking collarbone there. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm very tired today. Anyway, moving swiftly on, I'm just cleaning away the face paint where I want to stick the spikes, so I'm just using a little bit of 99% alcohol. You can use whatever you happen to have at hand. So you want to clean away the makeup, put on the glue, let it go tacky. Make sure you get some of that glue on the end of the spikes also, and just glue those into place. I made my spikes with some paper clay, so I just rolled them out and let them dry. You don't want to do the spikes too big. I did have some larger spikes, but I found that even though this paper clay does dry quite lightweight, the larger spikes just wouldn't stick down. So yeah, take my advice and keep them small. The reason you're cleaning away the face paint before you glue the spikes on is because this kind of skin adhesive does not adhere so well to makeup, so it's best to adhere it to either clean skin or the clean latex bold cap. So you can just put your spikes wherever you want. I just made sure they were kind of evenly placed and quite organic, not too symmetrical. Yeah, I make quite a few of them. It's better to have too many spikes than not enough. Yeah, I've got a bit of a droopy spike going on. Don't know whether you can spot it. There we go. I also made some thinner spikes using some cocktail sticks, which I just put into some latex paste. Latex paste is just latex mixed with flour, so you get a nice thick paste. I just put some blobs of that onto a hard, smooth surface. I use the back of a plate, and then I just put the spikes into those, just cocktail sticks broken in half basically. Let that dry, and then just painted them black. I also painted, obviously, the paper clay spikes black before I put them on as well. It's better to pre-paint the spikes because that way it's a lot easier and quicker when you come to apply. So you just saw me cleaning off the areas where the teeth are going to stick and applying the glue, and whilst that goes tacky, I just started applying latex around the edges of all those spikes to really make sure they're adhered well to the skin. This just gives an extra kind of safety measure so they don't fall off. And then I'm just sticking on those teeth that you saw me making earlier with Polymorph Plastic. If you don't have any Polymorph Plastic, or you don't want to buy too many materials for this, you can always make these out of the paper clay as well. Right, now it's time to cover up the eyes, because the Iron Maiden doesn't actually have any eyes. Obviously you still need to be able to see those, so I just took some rough circles of muslin and just cut a slit in the middle just so I could see out. Your sight is still a little bit restricted, but you can see pretty well okay. It's just kind of a bit tunnel vision-ish. So I just stuck those down with the same skin adhesive that I used for the spikes and the teeth, and then just put some latex around the edges to seal that and make sure it's really adhered well. You can actually see through muslin, so if you were just covering up the one eye, then I'd say go ahead and just not cut the slits, but because you're covering both eyes, it is better to have the slits so that you can see properly. Right, and then I just painted over those areas of latex just to make sure it blends into the rest of the makeup, and I also painted grey over the spikes just to again blend those into the makeup so they weren't kind of black and stark and standing out too much. And obviously it goes without saying that I also painted over those muslin eye patches too. just going in with some more black here just to bring that dimension back in and just create that texture on those bits that I've just painted. And then I decided to paint the teeth because they were looking too stark and white. I just used some yellow toned alcohol based paint. You can use body paint or eyeshadow or whatever you happen to have. It just made them look a bit nastier because I don't think the Iron Maiden would have nice clean white Simon Cowell teeth, would he? And then I just decided to paint some red around the edges of the mouth also, just to add a little bit of interest and a little bit more dimension and tone to this look. Again, I used alcohol paint. You can use whatever you have. You could even use red lipstick and just smudge that around the edges. And then I went in with that black Diamond Effects paint, the really opaque one, and I just painted the bases of those teeth just to blend them into the look a little bit better and make them look like they're not stuck on. I also used it just to blend those eye patches and just make them look a bit darker to hide my eyes. I then decided that he needed a little bit more grunging up, so I went back in and stippled some more black all over my head and chest. Obviously, if you're wearing this to a party, you might want to wear a grey morph suit because you wouldn't want to go completely body painted. And then I basically, just to finish it off, I just went in with some clown white and just kind of stippled that on to add a little bit more interest and texture to the look because I felt I'd gone a little bit too dark, so yeah. And then I just repurposed the fingers that I made for another look, which as of today you will not have seen yet, but you will see it later on. And then we are done. I hope you enjoyed this one. It was great fun to do. If you did enjoy it, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow. Love ya.